Question: Are the Jews cursed? I remember there is a verse or hadith that says, "The Jews are cursed." How should we understand this? In many places in the Quran, the characters and characteristics of the Jews are mentioned, and they are threatened, scolded and humiliated because of their evil. For example, it is mentioned that they are ungrateful for the blessings given to them, that they associate partners with Allah, that they are proud because they see themselves as the superior race on earth, and that they remain humiliated with greed and avarice, which are despicable traits. In the Torah, the Israelites are presented as God's chosen people and holy nation on the one hand, and on the other hand, they are criticized for their bad behavior. Because they opposed Moses and Aaron, did what is evil in the eyes of the Lord, worshipped gods such as Baal and Moloch, idols of deified rulers, and the golden calf. Thus, they did not keep their promise to Allah, broke their covenant, committed immorality, committed adultery, destroyed places of worship, and tried to kill their prophets. They have abandoned the law of Allah and adopted the laws of other nations. The Holy Book of the Jews is full of examples showing that the Israelites were condemned and threatened with punishment by their prophets because they deviated from the right path and served other gods. In the Holy Quran, after the characteristics of the Jews are briefly mentioned, the disasters to which their bad aspects have led them are taken into consideration, while in fact the results of following the evil self in all of humanity are presented as general principles. All the tangible results of following desires instead of God are presented to the eye in the mirror of the Israelites, and the severity of the test to which humanity is subjected on earth is revealed. The threats and anger of the Holy Quran are important in terms of showing the magnitude of the mistakes made and the murders committed. In human history, the Jews have been the nation that has gained fame for its love of wealth and has exerted great effort and shown greed to obtain wealth. The biggest factor in their attitude is their attachment to the world to the point of worshipping it. In fact, according to their creed, they are the only people who will enter heaven. Therefore, for a society that has such an understanding of the afterlife, all ways are legitimate in reaching their worldly ambitions. The Quran mentions that they worship the world, want to live long, and see every way to acquire wealth and property as legitimate, and therefore they deserve a humiliating punishment. Again, the Quran states that because the Jews went to extremes in acquiring material things that were previously lawful for them were later made unlawful. Nisa 4/161-61, Bediüzzaman states that the Jewish nation was slapped with humiliation and misery because they went to extremes in their love of life and worldliness. In the Quran, it is stated that the Jews had a bad habit of breaking their promises and breaking agreements. Whenever they make a covenant, is it not that a party of them break it? Most of them do not believe. Al-Baqarah 2/100. It is also stated in the Quran that they are a disbelieving community because they disobeyed the commands of Allah and were enemies of the angels and the prophets, and it is mentioned that Allah will punish them severely and that their destination is the fire of hell. During the time of the Prophet, the Jews used to ask him questions and tell him who would believe. However, when they received answers that were contrary to their understanding and desires, they would deny the Prophet. It is also mentioned among their other characteristics that the Jews acted with intense hostility and that advice and lessons could not reach them because their hearts were hard. In the Quran, hurts. It is narrated that the Israelites, the people of Moses, were made superior to the worlds and that they were given privileges, that they were given blessings like no other people, and that prophets and rulers were sent to them. However, it is also mentioned in the Quran that the superiority mentioned was only during the times when they obeyed Allah, and that when they associated partners with Allah and disobeyed Him, Allah cursed them because of their ingratitude for His blessings and that His mercy would no longer reach them. Therefore, their superiority is only related to the degree of piety. Indeed, the Quranic principle that superiority is only in piety shows that there is no question of a national superiority. Another characteristic of the Jews is that they describe Allah with inappropriate attributes. The Jews claim to be the sons of Allah and described Allah with attributes such as tight-fisted and poor. On the other hand, the Quran mentions that they will suffer a burning punishment, that these statements will increase their disbelief, that because of their polytheism, enmity and hatred will be sown among them until the day of judgment, and that they will be a nation cursed forever. Al-Ma'idah, May 18, 64. Another characteristic of the Jews mentioned in the Quran is that they are a nation that causes discord and corruption. Al-Ma'idah 5/64. What lies beneath their corruption is their hatred for all of humanity and their acting in accordance with their personal interests. First of all, they cause societies to collapse morally, cause discord among themselves and act according to their own interests. In this case, it has been stated that no victory will come to them from Allah for the goals they try to achieve through fraudulent means. Another example of the ingratitude of the Jews is that they killed their prophets and the just people in their communities. It is among the matters stated in the Quran that the Jews, who competed in hatred and hostility, will deserve a painful punishment for this action. The Quran mentions the Jews as a cursed nation, but also states that there will be good news for them if they believe in Allah and the Last Day, and enjoin what is right and forbid what is wrong. The verses in the Quran. They, the Jews, are humiliated wherever they are, until they seek refuge in the covenant of Allah and the protection of the people believers, and they are condemned to misery, and they are condemned to disgrace, and they are condemned to poverty, because they denied the signs of Allah and killed the prophets without right. This is because they rebelled and transgressed. They are not all the same. Among the people of the book is a community of upright men who recite the signs of Allah at night, prostrating themselves. Ali Imran 3/112-113 show that they are not all the same, and that those who are cursed are given good news because they do not keep their word, because they do not associate partners with Allah, and because their deeds are bad, and that those who are given good news are given good news because they follow a righteous path as servants of Allah, not associating partners with Him. When describing the people of the book who do good deeds, it is stated that if you leave them a lot of wealth, they will return it without fail, that they are happy that the Quran was revealed, that they believe in Allah with complete sincerity and submission. Conclusion. In the Quran, based on the example of the children of Israel, behaviors that do not comply with the purpose of human existence on earth are listed and clarified, and the map of deviations and bad characteristics that lead to the curse of a community is drawn. While describing the situation of a community that lives among people and is the source of all kinds of evil to the extent that it can be considered the evil commanding soul of humanity, and the consequences that await it, it is revealed how the test of humanity in the world takes place. As the Quranic method, the experiences of a community of people and general principles are taken into consideration. It is emphasized that it is possible to be saved from the bad characteristics that lead humanity to damnation, humiliation, misery, torment and misery only by following God. The torment, hardship and curse that the Israelites suffered were not because of their ethnic origins, but because of their obsessions and bad characteristics. It is because of the principles contained in the character and destiny of the Jewish nation in the Quran that the Quran is very severe towards them. Sosler, page 367. Therefore, since these characteristics are mostly found in the Jewish nation, the Quran cursed them. In a sense, it is not the Jewish nation that is cursed, but the bad characteristics that most of them possess. If the actions that lead to this situation are done by others, they will be included in the same group and face the same consequences. As mentioned before, the Israelites were given blessings such as being saved from the tyranny of Pharaoh and drowning in the sea with the prophet Moses, being fed with food sent to them in the desert, and extracting water from rocks to quench their thirst, and they were protected from punishment. In return, they did not keep their promises, later killed some of their prophets, forgot Allah and began to worship idols, and caused mischief on earth. They were cursed by Allah because of their ingratitude for the blessings they were given, their injustice, their plots of deceit, corruption and discord, their pride, stubbornness and bigotry, and their greedy worship of wealth and the world. However, it would be wrong to consider this curse only in a racial context. Because it is true that there were also people among them who accepted the truth and reality, who enjoined good and forbade evil. Indeed, Abdullah bin Salam, a Jewish scholar during the time of the Prophet, wrote in his books that hurts. He read the characteristics of the Prophet, and believed immediately when he saw the Prophet, saying, "There is no lie in this face." The fact that no one is condemned to misery or happiness because of their nationality or race, that superiority is only in piety, and that whoever does an atom's weight of good or evil is definitely rewarded is a requirement of absolute justice.